We have the Ireland team for their game in Italy, and in years gone by, this fixture was the opportunity when Ireland would rotate. They would make some token changes. You'd always get Craig Casey getting to start a game, and a couple of others like that. Ireland have gone full bore, and I suspect there might be a number of Ireland fans, and please let me know if I'm on the money with this one in the comments down below. I suspect there's a number of Ireland fans that might be thinking, Simon, this was the team you should have picked a week ago against France. Is this as strong as Ireland can go? Well, I mean, of course, a big headline, Tadhg Furlong is back, and man alive have they missed him. But a whole change on the bench in the front row. In fact, pretty much a whole change on the bench in the forwards, because you've got two of the guys that were starting last week now onto the bench, Joe McCarthy and Peter Amani. And Jack Conan comes into the starting lineup along with James Ryan into the starting 8. The back line, and obviously the area that's going to get the most talk in the build-up to this game and has had the most talk since Saturday, Jack Crowley is at fly half. A lot of rumours flying around that Leicester Tigers are courting him and offering him, well, I mean, a rumoured £600,000 to try and tempt him away from Munster. But that would tempt him away from the Ireland setup full stop, wouldn't it? I'm not sure what the rules are at the moment, but Jack Crowley is a seriously talented player. Sam Prendergast on the bench this time. They've got the luxury of having Bundy Aki on the bench because Gary Ringrose is back and available. Of course, Gary Ringrose was going to have played against Leinster the other week, so it's totally understandable. It's just quite funny that France are still pretty livid about the fact Gary Ringrose is playing right now. But then again, I imagine they're not so bothered at the moment now that they've got the opportunity to go and win the Six Nations in Paris. Ireland will take to the field knowing what they've got to do. They've got to go and win well and give themselves a chance of winning the championship should France slip up and England, well, either lose or not win with a bonus point, and then it comes down to points difference. So Ireland could win the Six Nations, and they know that. Whether you think that this is the strongest Ireland team or not depends on where you land on the Jack Crowley, Sam Prendergast debate. I can't remember who said it, but it was in the NFL. And I may be butchering the quote, but basically on those teams where they have not one clear first choice as quarterback, the phrase was, if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. In other words, and this is American football, which is not the same as rugby, but in American football, it's good for the team and it really, really makes a difference if you have one clear choice. Who that's going to be, Ireland don't know. And I think it's going to be a story that unfolds over many years. For what it's worth, I think it's brilliant and shouldn't be taken for granted to be able to have two or more elite players in that position. Because, well, an injury and you've got someone that can come in. Also, someone drops out of form, they can step in. And actually the competition of the two, steel sharpens steel. And it should keep both of them on their game for many, many years. Johnny Sexton, obviously, I say block the pathway. I mean, it's just he was incredible, generational talent. Now we've got a proper fight on our hands, and Jack Crowley has got a point to prove. I mean, not just for Ireland. He wants to show Andy Farrell that he deserves to go on the British and Irish Lions tour as well, which if you'd have asked me before the Six Nations, I said, yeah, well, he'll be a shoo-in to go because he's the main man at 10 for Ireland, and he did so well in last year's Six Nations and on that tour to South Africa. We will see. Lowe and Hansen back on the wings makes such a difference to this Irish team, and so does Gary Ringrose at centre as well. Bundy Aki was, by his high standards, relatively anonymous in that game against France. Robbie Henshaw also looked a little bit slow and cumbersome, so, I mean, Gary Ringrose will just change the whole dynamic. Up front, Jack Conan's been playing out of his skin, and I think he does deserve to start. Joe McCarthy, is that a slight punishment for his poor discipline? The yellow cards really cost Ireland. Obviously, there's no Calvin Nash involved now that Mac Hansen's back. And Joe McCarthy, who also got a yellow card, is well, you could argue it's a demotion to the bench. It's a 23-man game these days, so all these guys are going to have a role to play. It could be argued that Gus McCarthy over Rob Herring and Jack Boyle over Cian Healy are those kind of token picks that often have happened in years gone by against Italy. I'm not so sure. Maybe they are just pure merit-based selections, and maybe had Jack Boyle been given more minutes more often in the past, and Simon Easterby wouldn't have been in a position where he would have left it till 68 minutes to make the bulk of his changes last week, which was too late. Tadhg Furlong, though, I mean, he's how good to see him back. Ryan Baird, I'm not sure if he's injured or not, but no sign of him in the squad. They've gone for a 5-3 split, and I have to say, just firstly on the young players, Boyle and McCarthy are in. Peter O'Mahony's still there and he's on the bench. I think a British and Irish Lions year is a really, really good time to cast your net a little bit wider and give some time to younger guys, because the summer tour during a British and Irish Lions year, especially when Ireland are expected, and I think they will, have so many of their main players going on that tour. What a brilliant time for Tom Ahern, for Cian Prendergast, for Cormac Izuchukwu, and these next-gen Ireland players to get some time. Peter O'Mahony is on. I'm not sure about him off the bench. Always seems like if you're going to play O'Mahony, then start him and bring him off. Good line out forward. But he doesn't feel like the kind of player that's going to change the game late in matches, but absolute hero, and could be his last game. Well, will be his last game, so is his last game. So he deserves that, and maybe deserves to go out winning. And the same for Conor Murray. I just feel like Ireland with a 5-3 split just works. It plays to their strengths, and I think a 7-1 bench split for South Africa and for France makes sense with the players that they've got. Other teams go for 6-2. I haven't seen the Italy or the Wales teams yet, but quite possibly this is the only 5-3 split in the Six Nations this weekend. And it just works for Ireland. They have got players like Doris and Van der Fleer and Tadhg Beirne that can and regularly play full 80-minute shifts. And with players like Aki that you can have on the bench, with a player like Prendergast, it just makes sense. And Ireland went to South Africa and won with 5-3 splits. They beat South Africa's 7-1 bench split in the Rugby World Cup, with 5 forwards and 3 backs on the bench. So this feels a little bit more like Simon Easterby is, I don't know. I don't know if the pressure of being the head coach in a Six Nations, the goldfish bowl that is, spooked him a little bit. And the thought of, I've got to combat France and I've got to do this. This feels like more of a confident Ireland pick. Like going, I don't care about the opposition. I'm just going to do what we do. And I'm going to make the picks that I want to make for my team so we can impose our game on it. And from that perspective, I feel like maybe, and obviously some of the players weren't available. James Lowe went out during the warm-up. Matt Hansen wasn't available. Gary Ringrose wasn't available last week. So all of that is significant. But this just feels like a confident Ireland selection. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'd love to know what you think. That's what the comments are for, and I'll be down there with you. So let me know, and I will see you on the next video.